Hey folks, I just shared a video about my nomadic workstation, so I'm going to record a little bit of real-time drawing while I'm in here. As you can see, the lighting is not super ideal. You can kind of see my hand here. I'm in my car and you can see the shadow of my car door right here, but since this is just a black and white ink drawing, it's not really going to affect me too much. And if it affects your viewing experience in a completely negative way, just let me know. So there's only a couple things I need to finish. I have the references right here, which you can't really see because of the glare. But it's just this character. It's a VTuber character named Hita Kamui that was commissioned to me during SAC Anime. There's only a couple details I need to put in with the pencil here. Just the position of her arm here, I wanted it to kind of be just folded just right here in front. So I'm using a Blackwing pencil, and I don't really have... Wait, hold on. I'm going to close my window here. Someone's pulling up right next to me. Don't want them to hear my commentary. I have an eraser with me on the side here, but I've just been using this eraser on the back of the Blackwing. I know they're replaceable, but I haven't quite used this one up yet. So I'm just going to do elbow here, and just a really simple angle, and her wrist sort of folding around her little shirt right there. Might add a little bit more flesh to the belly right there, just a little bit. Maybe bring the elbow up a little bit. I'm just gonna keep my strokes light, and then I think that's pretty good already. Maybe I'll bring the wrist in a little bit more so it's like hugging herself a little bit closer here. Change the angle of the shirt there. And then here on the tail, I see that there are these scales underneath these sort of triangular looking scales. Are longer scales, like at the bottom, if you can call them scales. I guess they're scales. Kind of this lizard-like dragon tail here. And I'm just going to do that all the way around. And then some down here as it wraps around. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to be doing this pretty much until I get a call from Uber Eats. You can kind of see my car. I am in a Prius, so I do keep the car on. Maybe I should turn it off, I don't know, but it helps charge my batteries, keeps my iPad and my phone charged, and the Prius is pretty good at regenerating its own battery. So as soon as I drive around for Uber, the battery's going to get charged up. So, but if it does end up being inefficient, then I'll change up my workflow here. This is a brush pen that my wife lets me use. It's Japanese. I don't know the brand. I would have to ask her if you guys want to know what the brand is. I have been using a brush pen for these ink commissions because it is the fastest way to do like the black fills, and you get a lot of control with like the tip. The problem with brush pens, of course, is that it requires, you know, a high skill level, and my skill level with them is not that high. But the more I use them, the more skill level I get. It's all about reps. So I'm just gonna start here, and I like to start with like the most dangerous details, you know, do the hardest thing first. So let's go ahead and just jump into the face right here. Get the eyebrows in there, and I'm just trying to keep a really light pressure so that my lines are really thin. I don't want too much detail in the nose. And the thing is, if I mess up here, if I mess up with this, I'm pretty much going to trace what I have using just another sheet of paper. This brush pen the ink does need to be refilled. Like if I end up doing a lot of dark fills and it just uses up a ton of the ink, then I do need to refill it. I don't have the refill ink with me. My wife does, so I would have to ask her later. I am borrowing this from her. She let me use it for the convention, so. Okay. So I remembered that one YouTuber who she is like an old lady, old Chinese lady who does like some inking, some painting tutorials and stuff. Just like Chinese calligraphy. My wife really enjoyed her channel. I remember her name Yang Hai Ying, and I am subscribed to her. I think I'm still subscribed to her, but she keeps it a really relaxing vibe. And that's the thing with the greatest art content creator of all time is Bob Ross. Nowadays we have more high energy stuff like Jaden Animations, Jazza Draw, Jazza, I forgot his Draw with Jazza is the name of his channel. And I wonder if they perhaps have surpassed Bob Ross as far as like hours of viewership. But I consider Bob Ross the GOAT. Still to this day, the most viewed Twitch channel in the art creative section. I think that he's still, or the Bob Ross Foundation or company or whatever they're called, is still streaming on Twitch. I know they have a bunch of videos on YouTube as well. I don't know, actually I'm not sure if they've been taken down or if they've been re-uploaded somewhere else or who owns it now. I know there's like a whole documentary on it, I think, about how, I don't know, some like ownership stuff. But anyway, I consider Bob Ross the GOAT. And what's great about Bob Ross, he has a great attitude. He keeps things slow. He describes his process and he teaches you at the same time. So I've always wanted that kind of vibe with my stuff. And I've never really done too many like real life, real time stuff like this. And it's almost like a performance in a way. I know Kim Jung-gi was all about like doing live brush pen drawings, and he is the GOAT. You know, he would be able to draw this not only more efficient than me, better line quality, better line confidence than me, but he can do it without a sketch, which is why he's the GOAT. You know, but I like these GOATs. I want to draw inspiration from the GOATs. And it's funny because when I describe them as the GOAT, now both these men have passed away, it is accurate because Kim Jung-gi, even though he had a specific art style, was the best at what he did. Now Bob Ross, while not being the greatest painter of all time, was still the GOAT at something very specific to him, which was creating content for TV. You know, he did it in, 70s, 80s, 90s, and he had a very popular, very relaxing painting show that it somehow, succeeded on TV. And I don't remember if it was like PBS or whatever station it was on, but it ended up being fantastic. Now for me, I want to focus on like one specific thing. Like, I know I'm not the most popular YouTuber around, but I want to be the GOAT at what I do in my own right. And I know that's going to require just reps, a lot of reps, and a lot of figuring out what it is that I'm working toward. Now, the thing that I want to do, I'm doing anime right now, but as you guys might have known, I'm getting paid for this. This is a commission. But I am slowly trying to make the transition away from this type of work, more towards religious work. Not that my experience with the anime style and with animation is ever going to go away, because it's affected and it's forever going to affect how I make art. And I think the style is good. It's appealing and effective for storytelling. But the type of content made in, quote unquote anime, I know anime is just a medium for storytelling. It doesn't necessarily mean like all the all the sexual stuff, all the otaku stuff, all the action, the shonen, all the tropes and genres within the medium made from Japan. All that stuff is related to the word anime. And so I don't even know if it's a real quote, but that funny quote from Hayao Miyazaki, "Anime was a mistake, it's nothing but trash." I kind of feel that sometimes, not as an insult to the medium itself, but to the type of content that's created in it. It just does not do anything for me. I mean, here's the thing. It can be beautiful, like the quality of animation, the type of art made, but ultimately for me, story serves its purpose when it speaks to the viewer who experiences it in a way that affects them either emotionally, philosophically, or teaches them something, or just has a positive effect on the person viewing. Now, anime might give someone happy and good and fun emotions, but it can't always say that it creates like a positive effect in that person's life. It can cause, addiction, temptation. I don't know. For at least for me, if having had an unhealthy relationship with anime, and now I pretty much hardly watch it at all. Um, you know, I don't. I guess I don't have a need for it anymore. Maybe when I was young, like I needed Goku, like I needed Vegeta to inspire me. Growing up, Naruto and Luffy, like their stories, might have taught me some things, had a positive effect on me. But as of right now, even One Piece is not even done yet, and it is a good story. But now, like with my current priorities in life, it's just not something that I need. And who knows if it's something that anyone needs? But here's the thing: it's these are stories, and if stories need to serve their purpose. Maybe for me in my life, anime has served its purpose, and now, having experienced so many years of it, and having built a career based on animation and freelance illustration, and having my life so entrenched in it, if anime has already served its purpose, then how do I use this talent that I've developed over the years? Because I no longer need it to entertain myself. And what kind of entertainment do I want to give to others? Well, the only thing I get paid for right now is freelance work. And it's just, drawing these characters for people. And I think it's fine because, I'm helping them live out their dreams. And not concerning myself too much with my own dream. And like this character, someone else made up, someone else uses it on their, VTuber platform. And I'm giving that person, art of the character so that they can love and enjoy their own character some more. And people love having their own ideas drawn by other artists. Me too. I have a lot of my own original characters, and when other artists draw them, I think that's wonderful. It's like sharing. But going back to the purpose of anime, for me, and I think something that might be universally applicable to all people, is that the greatest thing about animation is story. And what kind of stories do I want to tell? Well, for many years, more than 10 years now, many years, it sounds funny to say it like that, but for more than 10 years now, my dream has been to make a film about Saint Joan of Arc. I've talked about this before on the channel, but I've kind of been taking all these roundabout ways of pursuing that dream, of trying to save money and end up investing in assets and gambling money away, and doing all these desperate things to try to build that for myself. But now I realize, one thing Alex Hormozi said, and I think I mentioned this in a previous video too: rather than investing in the S&P, invest in the S and me. S doesn't mean anything, but to invest in myself as the asset. That I want to be just a very, very valuable person that people look to for help, and people look to for work like this. So, right now, because here's the thing: when I was at SAC Anime, I was charging like 45, 50, 55, 60. My price was going up, as demand increased, just to kind of slow things down. It's, basic supply and demand. If you have a lot of demand, you should raise the price. Those who are willing to pay the price will still pay it. And if they're not willing to pay the price, if they're iffy about it, then they won't pay the price. And then that can be a signal for you to lower prices. So it's very basic supply and demand. And my demand was high throughout the con. Filled up all the slots, and even had some leftover slots, which I'm working on now. And I was giving them about an hour to do these commissions. And essentially I was by the end of the con, I was making 60 an hour or more than that, because I was selling prints while doing these commissions. I was able to finish them within an hour on top of print sales. And that is like the most money I've ever made doing anything. I think there were previous cons where I made more overall combined with my wife, but I think this con was the single most I ever made, like per hour doing commissions and on my own. because you know, my wife was selling some stuff too. But I think on my own, this was the most I made, mostly because I raised my commission prices and I was like constantly doing commissions. People really like my ink commissions, and I'm getting better at them. Some of them didn't really turn out too hot, which is kind of the risk that you run with ink. So I just kind of messed up the eye there. Oh well, we'll just try to fix it. Let's get some bottom lashes here. Yeah, the risk with ink is that, you know, it's ink, so if you mess up, you mess up. I didn't make any like gigantic glaring mistakes, but there was one of them where like the head perspective was a little bit off and it was kind of lopsided, and it ended up like looking kind of bad in my eyes, but I hope they still enjoyed it. You know, it's just something that comes with the territory of doing ink. You know, I love doing digital commissions, but when people are live, they want to see it handmade. And this is the thing too, with the rise of AI artists, quote unquote artists, I use the word artist, but with the rise of AI art, you know, personally, I don't even have too much of a problem with AI art. I think it's a cool technology, and I think it's going to be used in ways that are, you know, beneficial to people somehow. I know a lot of people have issues with like the, you know, the copyright things that it kind of entails, where it's just kind of taking images from all over the internet and kind of using them to make whatever people tell it to make. So I understand that concern, and I'm sure that'll be worked out legally. You know, it's a huge scope, and I don't really have a large voice in the field. I'm just a little guy. But I think more about like, how can I stay valuable as an artist in a time where digital art, and especially AI digital art, are going to be very competitive, and just images constantly being made within seconds that can like basically draw way better than I can. And I don't know, like, but here's the thing, this is what I'm realizing: handmade like this is always going to be valuable. This is why artisan, like woven things, wooden things, hand carved things, hand painted, all these things are always going to be valuable to people, because when it comes to art, people will always value the human hand. Always. There's something personal about someone having touched it, and there's something beautiful about knowing, you know, this was made by human hands and not a computer or whatever. And yeah, so that's why I'm going to continue doing these. And if you guys are interested in something like this, just give me a DM, either here through YouTube, one of my social medias, or something like that. And I have been letting my camera roll, just waiting for an Uber Eats call. And I'm just going to keep going either until I finish this or until I get a call from Uber Eats. It looks like I might be able to finish though. Get a nice long form video in there. No, I am going slow. When I was at SAC Anime, I was able to make strokes faster than this. It could have been because I was warmed up, but also the angle that I'm drawing this, it's like I'm on my steering wheel, so it's kind of at this like raised angle, like an easel almost. I think I might be better at drawing on a flat surface, but I should get used to this because I don't want to slouch. Now, one thing that I do when I do line art, one thing I tell myself is to trust the sketch. I try to make sure that, because when I do this, you know, 2-pass process with one sketch, one ink, I want to trust what I made with the sketch so that I don't have to think too much. I don't want to have to reinterpret the form and you know, do guesswork and think, oh, maybe I did this or that line wrong. I think the sketch was good enough for me to move forward, so I'm just going to trust it. Okay. So let's do the bottoms and the tail here. I think, yeah, you guys should be able to see the whole thing. Yeah. Interesting design with a belt here. It's kind of like I think the shorts are like not buttoned and the belt is holding it up. It's an interesting choice of design. I never question, the character designs. Or maybe that just now was kind of questioning it, but I just draw what people ask. I never make any changes, is what I mean. But I think one beautiful thing that could happen, one of the things I loved before, my favorite type of commission ever was like, if somebody asked me to do one of my own OCs, because like, wow, I'm getting paid to do my own ideas, and that's like every artist dream. But now, the stories that I want to tell, maybe I do still want to tell my own imagined written stories, but right now, it's the real life stories that are most valuable to me. The stories of the saints, the stories of the Bible, the story of Jesus, and like those stories are like so powerful and so misunderstood, and I want people to be able to engage with them and understand them. And it's not like I'm going to be able to do a whole Bible story. There's so many people like sort of engaging in that. There's like one YouTube channel named Bible Project, which I really admire their content, because they do animation content, and it's so well made. They're not Catholic, they're a Christian group, I'm pretty sure, but their understanding of the Bible is really good. They look into the Greek translations, they look at like the words that were used to describe these things, and they go into like the context, and how the Bible is and how the Bible is held together by the story of Jesus, and that it all kind of leads to him. All the prophets, all the books of wisdom, Genesis and the Torah, how it all leads to the story of Jesus and salvation history. Really fantastic animations. So I really, really like that YouTube channel. You guys should check it out, Bible Project. So that's kind of the thing I want to get into. And I know they might even have job openings for animators, but animation is something I need to practice more. On the iPad, I do have Procreate Dreams, so it's something I want to get into more, but maybe I will wait until I get all my freelance work done. So I have this commission. I have one or two more ink commissions to do from Sack Anime that I'm sort of keeping in touch with the clients. And then I have another Dungeons and Dragons digital commission for a friend of mine, Scott, who has commissioned me a few times now, or has it been only 2 times, for some D&D banners for his games that he hosts online. So it's kind of a really cool thing. D&D is something that has kind of been reintroduced in my life recently. When you're a kid growing up, I think, oh, that's D&D's nerdy, like who does that? You're sitting around doing some kind of board game that is not a video game, and it's like, wow, that's lame or something. But growing up as a gamer, not that I play games anymore. I don't play games anymore. But as a gamer, I understood that video games are like numerical systems that once mastered, you kind of just optimize your calculations in a way. And that, I know that's a very reductive way to describe it, but it's also kind of true, because, well, you're doing that, but within the confines of your human body and human mind. So that's what makes it fun, I guess, that you're competing against other human bodies with human minds. If we were to compete against robots and AIs, we would all lose in video games, because they are, games of calculation. But the thing about, great games is that they are open-ended, and you have to solve the problems in creative ways, and there's a human touch to that creativity. A computer would still have a hard time coming up with creative ideas that have not yet been explored. But within the confines of a game, as long as it's a closed system, a computer will be able to solve it. Now, the universe and the world is a much more open system, and it's very, very difficult for any intelligence to, quote unquote, solve what it's supposed to do, having a purpose. And in D&D, I mean, you're still given a game where the structure is like, okay, you're given this campaign, you're given this dungeon, and you have to like complete it with your friends. But the types of problem solving are so open-ended. From what I've heard, I've never played it, but from what I've heard, that's how it is. And that's the fun of it. You're creating a story as you go, within the confines of the game's rules, of course, but it's less of a calculation and more of a work of art almost. Adding to a piece of your gaming history, I guess. Yeah. So I'm just adding in the shadows here now. I think we might be able to finish in this one sitting. Yeah. I just want to make sure this all dries well. I'm going to start doing the scales on the tail here. I'm working in my car, quote unquote, work from home until 4 o'clock. Now, the thing is, the reason I like being in my car for this is because I have a desktop at home. I paid about $1,500 for it in 2012. You know, so I have, you know, my current video card, graphics card is GTX, what is it, 970? And that's like pretty outdated now. I don't even know what they're on. They're like 4070 or something like that. It was like 970, 1070, and then 20, and then 30, and then 40, something like that. I really don't know what they're on now, but it's pretty old. I mean, it still runs like 1080p like fairly well, which was like, for me at that time, I felt it was good enough to make like an anime movie. Nowadays, I guess you want to produce in 4K. But anyway, I know Procreate Dreams can produce in 4K, and Procreate Dreams is also more powerful than the home system I had, which had Krita. I also had Toon Boom Harmony, which I paid $1,000 for that license, and I barely ended up using it. And then I had a thing where I switched my computer from hard drive to SSD, and apparently the hard drive was like registered as its own computer, and it would be a huge hassle to go back into the hard drive, like free up that Toon Boom license and then put it onto my SSD, especially when I want to transition to this more nomadic thing. And also Toon Boom possibly getting outdated and outcompeted by companies like Procreate and Clip Studio Paint. So I don't know. Eventually I also bought on discount a $125 for Clip Studio Paint EX, which became industry standard, or has a capability of industry standard animation. And now, I mean, not that I'm doing like professional level animation very much, but it's nice to have that power in your hands in such a cheap, at such a cheap price and in such a portable form, being Procreate Dreams on iPad. It's a really exciting time to be an animator because you can just download that. So yeah. I have it now on this iPad Air that I'm borrowing, and eventually when I get an iPad Pro, 12.9 inch, that's something I want to be working with a lot. Now, I don't get a lot of animation work anymore, but if I ever get, you know, the type of freedom here on YouTube to be able to do my own animation production, you know, one day, it's all about scaling up to that point. So it's not something I need urgently. It's just a toy that I want to have, and I need to really discern, like, make sure, you know, when I get these things that I have an immediate use for them. That's why right now borrowing the iPad is fine. So then I can do some digital illustrations, which are going to be fine on iPad Air. I don't necessarily need the fancy iPad Pro if it's just going to be illustration. It runs plenty fast on the iPad Air that I'm borrowing, Procreate in particular. Procreate Dreams, I don't know, I haven't played too much with yet. But it might be something that I want to like teach some people how to use, or at least mess around with a little bit, so I get familiarized with it, because I do believe it is the future. I think I'm like almost done here. Adding some lines right there. I kind of messed up on the contour of the chin a little bit, so maybe I'll kind of smooth that out instead of making it sort of this curved line. Messed up a little bit there, messed up a little bit in the eye. And this inking in general, you know, could be better, but let's start adding some value here, some shadows, you know, some overlapping shadows here and there. Kind of gives these ink pieces a little bit more depth. Maybe a little mark right here. That's hair. This is like armpit, I guess, right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take an eraser, and as soon as this dries, which it'll dry in a second, I'm going to go ahead and erase all the pencil out, and then you guys, well, I won't be able to do it now, but I think that's good for the video. Thank you for sitting through this like ink drawing here. I hope that was fun for you guys to watch. I'll do more of this when I do my next ink piece. All right, see you guys later. God bless. Bye-bye.